Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Cruise News Show. I'm your host, Tony, here with breaking cruise news. I guess the biggest thing that's popping off is December cancellations are starting to roll, and I'm going to tell you all about that. And then, as I've said before, the Bahamas are our huckleberry, and they're coming through big when it comes to resuming cruising. And since we found all this information out last week about the end of the no-sail order and the conditional sailing order, there have been some reoccurring questions that I've answered in a few places. I want to answer them here. And so, yeah, a lot to cover today. Hope everybody's doing good. Happy Monday. Happy November the 2nd. New month. Of course, tomorrow, Election Day. Everybody get out there, vote for who you want to have the big job in the country. And then also, if you're down there in Key West, get out there and vote whether or not you want cruise passengers in your city when cruising resumes. The first major cruise company out of the gate for the December cancellations. These are cancellations of paying passengers. That's going to be important as we talk about all these stories going forward. Norwegian Cruise Line Holdings, 3 cruise lines there. Norwegian Cruise Line, Regent Seven Seas, Oceania, canceling all their cruises in the United States for December. They're extending their cancellation to the end of 2020, citing the new requirements by the CDC for the phased reopening of the cruise business. I don't believe any of this takes anybody by surprise. We knew that there would be requirements to get cruising started again. We knew that it would probably involve test sailings and not passengers. And so this came to light last week. And now I believe this week, the theme of this week will be cruise companies canceling paying passengers in December, I believe even into January, as they do these test sailings. I still hold to the idea that there's going to be this trickle to a stream phased reopening of cruising. There will be cruises out of the United States in December. I don't believe any of them will have paying passengers. They will all be volunteer passengers, test passengers. At least that's true for Norwegian right now. We will wait to see if Royal Caribbean Group will wait to see if Carnival Corporation follows suit. Carnival's bold sometimes. I think Carnival may feel like they could get a passenger or 2 out in December, but I don't know. I don't really have any hard data for that. I know that they've been very close in targeting the ports they're going to go out of, Port of Miami, Port Canaveral. It seems like they've got a plan in mind, and I don't know if that will include paying passengers. I've been saying it over the last month or so. If you have a cruise in December, if you have a cruise in January, while I think there will be cruises going, if you're somebody that's booked on a cruise, I would not be counting on those cruises to go, and so we see that happening now. That was one of the biggest questions that I got asked all weekend long. I have a cruise in this month. Do you think it will go? I have a cruise in December. Do you think it will go? I have a cruise in January, February. I think it will go. I think for the short term, you should just assume that the near-term cruises will be canceled. The question that I keep contemplating is, at what month will cruises be safe from cancellation? And as of right now, I feel like all of Q1 is at risk, right? It's an unknown process to get these cruise ships certified to cruise again. The cruise companies are going to just start jumping through those hoops. Hopefully it goes quick and that the cruises that are in Q1 of 2021 are good for passengers. But I would say just to be cautious in your mind, be hopeful, but be cautious in your mind. I think it's going to be probably Q2 before we could answer the question, when will cruises stop being canceled? I believe that's going to be at least into Q2. I hope it's sooner than that, but I do believe in the very short term, December, January at risk, and we see December cruises for Norwegian Cruise Line paying passengers going away. It's going to be interesting to see what the other big cruise lines do. Not a huge surprise, and we're just going to start understanding how these puzzle pieces fit together. Another big concern over the week is this the end of long cruises? In the CDC document, it said in the beginning, this order that's in effect until November of 2021, no cruises longer than 7 days. So if you've got a cruise longer than 7 days, what does that mean? Well, in reality, we don't know what the cruise lines will do that. I got a question today. Should I cancel? Should I? Here's my philosophy on cancellation. If you have a cruise booked and you're super stressed out about it being canceled, you're super stressed out about not being able to put your hands back on the money, go ahead and cancel. If you can do that without penalty, penalty, put the money back in your bank and ride it out. But if you're on the other side of the fence, if you're not super stressed about it, you'll be happy if it goes. You'll be okay if it doesn't go, and you're not too worried about your money being tied up. Don't cancel. Make your final payment. You're going to have to make that decision for yourself. For me, I pulled all my money back. If a cruise cancels, I'm not taking future cruise credits. I'm just taking my money back. I'd rather have my money in the bank so that I can make decisions in real time opposed to waiting to see what happens with my money. I got a cruise booked in December on Royal. Got a cruise booked on Celebrity in January. I've got a cruise booked on Royal in February. And so I'm going to have to be making those decisions as I get more information. But who knows what's going to happen? If you have an 8-day cruise, are they going to make it a 7-day cruise? If you have a 14-day cruise, are they just going to cancel it? There's only a few options, right? If it's longer than 7 days and it has to be shorter than 7 days, they will change the itinerary to make it shorter than 7 days, or they will cancel the cruise. So there's not that many options there. And again, you have to determine whether or not it's worth waiting to find out what the cruise lines are going to do, or if you want to pull your money back. Now, while I don't have an answer to what's going to happen to cruises that are longer than 7 days, one thing I know for sure is I would love if you would subscribe to this YouTube channel, be a part of the Loca fam, be a part of this community. If you enjoy talking about cruising, if you like getting the cruise news, hit that subscribe button with the notification bell on. That way you don't miss out on any of these updates. We're getting close to 61,000. Be a part of that number. Thanks in advance. And now on to the next question. Another frequent question is, how are these new CDC guidelines going to affect cruises outside of the United States? Well, for the most part, it should not affect cruises for outside of the United States. A quick reminder, the major cruise companies, Norwegian, Carnival Corporation, Royal Caribbean Group, I believe most of them. I don't know any of the cruise lines that are incorporated in the United States. So don't think of the cruise companies as U.S. businesses. They have a big influence in the U.S. market. They employ a lot of U.S. employees. So it's important in that perspective. But when it comes to will they be acting as U.S. companies, the answer to that question is no. So they are going to act accordingly to where they are doing business. They will follow the local regulations that apply to wherever they are cruising out of. All these cruise lines will be acting in accordance to the regulations from wherever they're operating. So the CDC guidance is all about cruises going from U.S. ports, and that's the jurisdiction, the U.S. ports. And so whatever the cruise lines want to do in Europe will not be hindered by what the rules are here in the United States. What about transatlantic cruises? Look, I believe in the beginning, we're not looking at any level of complexity. If the transatlantic is over 7 days, that will have to be addressed if it ends up in a U.S. port or leaves from a U.S. port. But at the same time, I believe that the initiation, the beginning of cruising is really just about how can we get cruising going from the United States to a port close to the United States. The answer to the transatlantic will still have to be played out. Only speculation is that they're not even going to think about transatlantic, at least for the first couple cycles, until they can get cruising going again. And if it's longer than 7 days, they're going to have to address that regulation inside the CDC document. So still an open question, I would say, I guess, on transatlantic. No definitive answer. Another big question I'm getting, how do I volunteer to go on a test cruise? There's no documentation out there on that either. I would suppose that the cruise companies will pull from their own employees. I had a great conversation with my friend Don Terrace from Don's Family Vacation. I will link that above. We had about an hour and a half question and answer period where we kicked around some of these questions. If you want to get Don's perspective on that, let me recommend that video to you. But in that conversation, Don makes a good point. The cruise lines are going to pull from people that they know and from people that are pro-cruising. They may ask their other crew members that are waiting to get on a cruise ship, probably employees of the company, possibly some influencers, possibly some bloggers, vloggers, travel agents. That's where I think that the pool of people that are going to get asked to volunteer are coming from. Maybe they will look into the loyalty program and ask some people that have a long-term loyalty with their cruise line if they want to cruise. But the cruise lines are going to determine that on their own. There's nowhere that you can go to sign up for that. I don't know how you would get on a list at this point. Now, if there's a program that comes out and says, hey, if you want to go on a test cruise, go do this, I will definitely let you guys know that if something like that pops up. But right now, that's one of those questions that there's not an answer for. We're waiting for the cruise lines to process the CDC stuff and then come out with some of these kind of announcements. But yeah, I would anticipate that they will be drawing from people that they are close to and people that are pro their cruise line, and we'll have to wait and see what that looks like. And of course, one of the big challenges when it comes to cruising out of the United States is that you have to have some place to go. You can't just cruise to nowhere under the current maritime regulations, and that has not changed. And so you still have to have some place to go. I've been saying for the last 6 weeks that I believe the Bahamas will be our huckleberry, that they are trying to align their opening with the potential reopening of cruising, and they've made some more announcements. Just yesterday, they've dropped their 14-day in-country quarantine for people that are visiting the country. This is something that was in place in their last phase of reopening, that if you went to the Bahamas, you had to, of course, test on the way into the Bahamas, and then you had to do a self-quarantine, or you had to be quarantined at a location in the Bahamas before you could go out and start exploring the local areas. They've dropped that. And then the other thing that's significant for cruising is that they have said that they will accept any of the testing that the cruise lines do for entry into the Bahamas. So according to the CDC guidelines, there has to be testing at the port on embarkation day. And so a scenario could play out like this. You get on a cruise ship in Miami, you get tested at the port, you test negative for the virus, you jump on a cruise that's going to a private island, so you're going to Coco Cay, you've got to stop in Nassau. The question was, well, when I get off at Nassau, when I get off at Coco Cay, do I have to take another COVID test because I'm going into the Bahamas? No, the tourism minister there in the Bahamas said if you get tested before you get on the cruise ship, that test result is valid getting into the Bahamas. And you may be saying, well, what if you get off at the Bahamas and then you get interacting with people and then you get the virus there? Isn't that going to mess it up when you come back to the United States? Well, also part of the CDC guideline is you have to get tested before you get off the cruise ship. And so a very extensive document, this 40 pages. I'm going to go deeper into the document. I'm going to wait a couple days, though, to see if the cruise lines answer some of the questions that people are asking about the document instead of just continuing to speculate about the document. But that is one of the deals. Like, are they really going to test when you get off the cruise ship, and then what happens? And so we're going to continue to listen for that information. Okay, I've said a lot here. It's a lot to process. I may have to go back and watch it again. Go back and watch it again. But the big idea here is that cruising is going to resume in a phased way. The cruise companies are going to have to figure out how to do these test sailings, these mock sailings, these volunteer sailings, so that they can prove to the CDC that their protocols are valid before they can take on paying customers. Those cruises, I believe, will be happening in December, will be happening in January. I don't know how long that process is going to take. And until they get through that process, they're going to have to cancel paying customer cruises. So that's what we see with Norwegian. They've canceled. It would not surprise me if we get an announcement from Carnival, from Royal Caribbean, the other major cruise lines before the end of the day or sometime in this week saying exactly the same thing. But yes, so passenger cruises will have to continue to be canceled until cruise ships can be certified to accept paying passengers. And we do have a place to go, the Bahamas. That's a big question. The Bahamas continues to get ready for cruise ship passengers. And so the trickle into sailing continues. I'll ask the question that I usually ask on cancellation day. Did your Norwegian cruise get canceled today? What are you going to do going forward? Are you going to get a refund? Are you going to take a future cruise credit? Leave a comment below. And what do you think? Would you volunteer to go on one of these test sailings? And if you have any other questions, leave them in the comments. I'll try to address them in further shows. This is the last time I'll get to see you until tomorrow. Go vote tomorrow if you are an American, if you're a U.S. citizen. People have lost their lives so that you could go vote. Exercise your right. I don't care who you're voting for. Exercise your right. Be a part of the conversation. Be a part of the solution. The word of the day is vote. How about that? The word of the day is vote. If you are so creatively inclined, include that in your comment. And yeah, let's keep rolling into another week. Hope everybody is doing good. Please show your support for the show by hitting the like button. This is Tony for Lido Loca. And until the next time, we'll see you on the Lido. Bye.